Coming up, pride and patriotism versus anger and violence. It's a tale of two Americas. We'll show you it next. We saw a tale of two Americas over the weekend. One was filled with pride, patriotism. The other, anger and violence. A historic military parade of the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army meant to honor the brave men and women who protect us from the real enemy. That transpired in D.C., and that was up against the background of the No Kings anti-ICE protests that tried to make Trump look like the villain. Now, to the left, this is what peaceful protesting looks like.
We're going to burn the American flag, all right?
And the left has no problem with this. We also saw more riots outside of the Portland, Oregon ICE facility.
Portland police declared a riot had broken out at the ICE facility at around 6:30 in the evening after a federal officer was hurt. Police ordered the protesters to leave using tear gas, but the night led to 3 arrests.
Now, for the left, rioting and raising pride flags during the national anthem at a Major League Baseball game, something to be praised. But a Dodgers player displaying a Bible verse on his cap during Pride Night, well, that's an abomination, they tell us. And honoring our nation's military, well, that's totally out of the question.
It's not a parade. It's a show of force.
Watching this from a president who has occasionally praised and oftentimes denigrated the U.S. military, I'm just reminded by how out of touch this guy is.
The Army doesn't serve a politician, it serves the country. But President Trump looks at the military as a function of his personal power.
The Army didn't ask for this. The Department of Defense didn't ask for this. This is not how they wanted to celebrate this event. Donald Trump asked for this.
Well, what I was told is Donald Trump asked that the focus be on the next generation, new recruits, honoring our military. Well, the media kept telling us Trump's military parade was going to be a North Korea-style authoritarianism event. But even they could not keep up with that lie.
When we talk about sort of tension in the country, and sometimes, you know, you and I have both been at Trump rallies, those can be, you know, very tense, a kind of, I would say, like kind of a dark, malevolent energy sometimes in them. Not always, but it doesn't seem like that's the energy on the mall today, which I think is a good sign, right?
Correct. That you're really correct about that, Chris, and it's something we were watching for.
I'm sure Chris Hayes loved reporting that. So did Jen Psaki. Well, in reality, Trump was honoring the men and women who serve and protect our country, starting with the history of our great U.S. Army.
Over the past 2.5 centuries, our warriors have shown unrivaled valor on fields of battle around the globe. With the frost-bitten feet and bloody fist, they have marched into the flames and fury of combat, charged up mountains, stormed beaches, waded through torrents of gunfire, and leapt into skies thick with smoke and shrapnel.
Well, here to discuss is Ben Ferguson, host of 47 Morning Update and co-host of Verdict with Ted Cruz, along with Molly Hemingway, Fox News contributor and the Federalist editor-in-chief, live in studio. Molly, looking at Jen Psaki's face, she clearly was thrilled that they got to admit that this was not a dark parade. In fact, it was honoring our military.
Well, it was just an embarrassing mistake for Democrats to make, to go against a parade honoring the military. And yes, they did set it up as if it's going to be about President Trump's birthday or about like a North Korean style thing. Well, first of all, many countries celebrate and honor their military and their successes. I've had the pleasure of being in France for Bastille Day. That's quite a show of military might, and people love to respect their military. And it's something that the United States doesn't do all the time, but they should do. And obviously, the 250th anniversary of the Army is a great time to do that. And it was well done, and it was a wide, diverse group of people down at the mall. I got to go with my family, and it was a wonderful event, and I learned a lot about the history of the U.S. Army.
Yeah, I bet. It was amazing to watch. You know, Ben, There was the other background, the protests, which were not peaceful all the way around. We just showed you some images. But I know you get a kick out of this because you and I both sat on these infamous 8-on-1 CNN panels with liberals stacked against the one conservative. And I wanted to just bring up, this is down memory lane. This is fiery but peaceful protests back in 2020.
Yes.
CNN, they're still trying this as cars burn. It's peaceful.
No, it's peaceful everywhere. Just every protest isn't peaceful. And this is what they try to tell you, is that the left is somehow pro-America and Donald Trump is some sort of king. I'm pretty sure we got rid of kings in 1776. And I'm pretty sure Donald Trump is the guy that's now taking down the oligarchs in the Democratic Party. And that's what they're angry about. But if you want to look at who's in favor of America right now compared to the other side, look at the radical left. The left killed the CEO of United Healthcare. The left killed 2 Israeli ambassador staffers. The left attempted to assassinate Donald Trump not once, but twice. They're the same left that attempted to dox and murder federal agents, ICE agents, and police all week long. And then you look at what happened in Minneapolis, Minnesota, with a state rep and her husband that were injured, and the senator and his wife. And then you look at what they are. The left has become a domestic terrorist organization right now. They hate anything that celebrates America. They hate our military. They hate the men and women that protect us in police and law enforcement and ICE. And what do they want to do? They want to destroy it all because they've lost their power, because they're no longer kings. So what do? They say, oh, Donald Trump, he's a king. No, Donald Trump's the guy that's getting rid of all your power as dictators and tyrants. And let's not forget, they also lied to the American people and said Joe Biden's competent. He's running the country. And now we know he wasn't the entire time.
Yeah, you know, Molly, in Minnesota, our prayers go out to Melissa Hortman and her husband who lost their lives. Such a tragic, tragic event. And we covered that press conference live on Outnumbered. And Amy Klobuchar pointed out the instances of political violence have gone from 1,000 in 2016 to 9,000 threats against elected officials. Horrific to see. I do want to point this out. I think we've got to call spades when we see them. And to have a media that 211 times calls the riots peaceful, and CNN was responsible for 123 of those, MSNBC 88. To call them peaceful when there are literally law enforcement officers who were harmed during them. It's not just a media malpractice, it's a dereliction of duty to give accurate information.
It's important that people understand what's going on. These riots are organized, that they are intended to be nationwide, and they're intended to go after the rule of law. You have people saying they want to not enforce border protections and security, and you see so much about how these riots are going, very similar to how the BLM riots went in 2020. And I noticed you talked about what was happening in Portland with the ICE facility. It's worth remembering that those same people sieged a federal courthouse in Portland for months in the summer of 2020. And Americans are really sick and tired of seeing this kind of violence go unchecked. Political violence can happen from any place, but there really is a problem on the left with sustained political violence, like going back for decades, and it needs to be honestly reported, and unfortunately it's not.
It's not, and our hearts go out to all of those who have been victims. No place in this country for political violence, as we all agree. Ben and Molly, thank you. Coming up, Trump drops the hammer on liberal sanctuary cities. Tom Homan here to weigh in next.